Fernando Gonzalez, Bellator 174 coming up next week in Oklahoma. It's got Brandon Gertz in front of him. So, Fernando, you're in the car. Obviously, you just got home. What training were you just getting done?
Right now, I'm focusing on mitt work and cardio. Just making sure my hands are on point and my conditioning is ready for the fight.
So, what kind of extra conditioning have you done for this fight, or has your conditioning kind of been the same since your last couple of training camps?
I'm no more for my cardio. I normally outlast my guys, so I tend to do the same things that will help me get there. But some little tweaks here and there that I need for conditioning for my opponent. Like Brandon likes to take takedowns and stats, so I was making sure that some of my conditioning has a lot of sprawls, a lot of me throwing and making sure I'm ready to sprawl out in case he wants to do a takedown or shut him down in any position.
So you had a really good fight this last time out with Michael Page. It was actually an excellent fight, but you lost a split decision. What do you think you had to do to convince one more judge to vote your way? Like, what round was it you could have done a little bit more or did something differently, or not have something happen to you that changed the fight of that round?
He didn't really do too much. Honestly, the thing I felt, and I've been saying, is the bigger thing that hurt me was the layoff. That first round, I came out and I threw a kick and I kind of like hopped into it and I felt it then. And I was like, shit, my timing's off. So I had to like circle a little bit more and make sure that he was coming to me. I think that's what really hurt me. I wanted to throw more leg kicks and land more, so that way in the third round I'd be able to finish him. Obviously, he still had enough juice enough to stay away from my big punches, but he was running like a girl at that last round. So, I mean, honestly, I believe the layoff is what really hurt me in that. And I asked for another fight in between then, so I wouldn't have that. But they didn't want to schedule that. They said no, we're gonna wait for this fight, and it is what it is. You got to do what the boss says, and honestly, that's the only thing I think that hurt me. And other than that, I mean, I got one judge that gave me a 30-27. So
yeah. And so is it frustrating sometimes knowing that one judge, and he might have been completely wrong, right? He might have been completely wrong when he gave it a 30-27, but one judge was like, no, you won all three rounds, and the other two judges went the other way. Like, is it frustrating when it gets left into the judge's hands and you kind of get screwed over?
It is. I can't go off of that. I can't go off what the judges are seeing. I just got to go out there and fight my fight and make sure that he doesn't want to fight me again. After the fight, he was asking me for a rematch, but as soon as he got the nod, he's like, "Ooh, I'm gone. I don't want to fight." And whatever it is, but honestly, if you look at the fight, even the first round, even with my timing being off, if you actually look at the strikes that landed, not him dancing, because that's what they based it off of. They gave him the first round off of him dancing. He threw a couple of jabs, and I pretty much blocked everything he threw at me. So if it doesn't land, it doesn't count,
Right.
Honestly, it's just the only thing that I see that gave him the win. And, the commentating was kind of like on his side too, so that was kind of rough where I was watching it and I'm like, I didn't lose that round. I turned down the volume. I started watching the things that actually landed, and I outpointed him in that round. So realistically, the first round I won. Second round, he was already starting to back up, where I would say that round was probably more even. And the more significant round was the third round, where he was completely running. They stopped the fight and said, dude, you got to fight him.
Yeah.
He's sitting running, and the ref stops the fight. It's like they didn't take a point, but that should have been taken into account for the judging.
And that ref was Jason Herzog, who's one of the best. And when I ref, he's usually on my team. And so if he's stopping you from not fighting, it's because you really are not fighting. It's a big, and it's actually becoming more and more of a situation I've noticed in the last, 3 or 4 cards that I've refed and watching fights every weekend, like we all do. I'm attached to TV, from depending on where the fights are, Friday morning all the way through till Sunday afternoon. I'm kind of stuck watching fights, and I'm seeing a lot more guys like not engaging and not wanting to get in the pocket. And a part of it is the old school style of backpedaling, making a guy run into your punches, and then catching him. But then the real significance of it is a lot of guys are running away. Do you feel like that's becoming the way of the fights that you're seeing, that you're watching, not just your own fights? Do you feel like that's becoming a trend? Like I'm seeing it, or am I seeing something different?
Honestly, yeah, they're trying to gear it almost like boxing, where they're like, oh, he's boxing, and there's boxing and then there's running, so there's a big difference, you know. Um, you could tell he was running, you know, so that should have been taken into account. In the second round, he's throwing punches. The reason I knew he was starting to run is in that second round, he threw a punch and it was like super slow mo, barely touched grazed the top of my head. And I was like, he's gassing. And I was even talking to him when we're in that third round. I was like, let's go, let's fight, you know. I know you're tired, let's go. And he was just, you know, I don't want to get into that part, but
No, I get you. No, no, he went to survival. So what happens? The reason why I'm talking about it so much is because what happens if a Brandon Gertz, who doesn't do this normally, he's usually very aggressive. He's gonna stay in your face. It's gonna be a slugfest. The way this thing is written down on paper, it looks like you guys are just gonna walk in the center of the cage and start throwing, and then someone's gonna end up winning and someone's gonna end up losing. But it could happen when you hit him and he starts to backpedal. Have you changed and added some things in your training camp for when guys are backpedaling away and trying to run from you on how to cut them off and get out? Because it really didn't look like you were trying to cut Page off when you were fighting him. It looked like you were just chasing him around as opposed to cutting the ring off, right? Have you worked on some more stuff to learn in case Brandon does the same thing where you're going to sidestep and cut him off?
I have, but at the same time, it's just the way the fights play out. You know, if I run in, like that's his thing. You know, Michael Page is a counter fighter. He's not really an aggressor. You know, like especially once he knows somebody that can hurt him. You know, he tends to. That's why he's doing his running. If I cut off too much and I'm coming at a good angle, that's what gives him an angle to catch me clean. So that's the reason I kind of had to stay at the end of his punch. So I knew that when he threw, I would have time to see the punch coming. So I kept it just on the end of at the end of his reach. So when he did throw something, I would either block it or I'd be able to slip and counter. But obviously I'm shorter than him, so that's why I threw a lot more legs. My legs were basically my arms in that fight. My legs were going to land a lot sooner than my hands would. So that's why I did that. But at the same time, like I said, my timing was off that first round. Had I threw more leg kicks, even in the second and third, I landed more leg kicks, and it was what slowed him down. But it wasn't enough to finish him. So that's the only thing that I didn't like, that I didn't get the finish.
So with this one, obviously, you want to go out. You're coming. It's only one loss. I mean, you've been on you're on a tear before that, just crushing folks. And now you want to get a good victory against Brandon. You're going down to Oklahoma to do it. It's a good crowd. It's a good casino to fight in. But now it's becoming more and more apparent to be an entertainer as well. Like you got to be able to entertain the crowd. Getting it to be one of those. When you sit at home and you're going to sleep at night and you're like, wow, this is how this fight's going to end. How do you see this fight ending? Is it a 5-punch combination? Do you think it's going to be a war? Are we going to catch him? Like, how do you really feel that this fight's going to end?
I think I'm going to catch him standing, because he's obviously still a little bit lighter than I am. So once we go to hit the ground, if it goes to the ground, he's going to feel my weight. And I'm not bad on the ground. I'm pretty good on the ground. So I think the best option is just kind of stand and bang, and I just feel my hands are a little bit more sharp than his are, and I feel I'll catch him.
So what else have you changed for this training camp besides doing you really haven't changed much really for this training camp since the last one? What have you changed diet-wise? You changed anything strength conditioning-wise to get ready for this?
No, I tend to work the same. I like, if it ain't broke, it ain't, don't sit. I don't feel I lost that fight against Michael Page. I mean, I know what they scored it, but, I walked out of there feeling like I won the fight, and the crowd was going crazy for me. So they went in there cheering him on, and then I walked out getting cheered. So, I don't feel I lost the fight. The judging is what decided it, but I'm going into this fight feeling like I won. So, I didn't really have to change too much other than the fact that it went from a taller fighter to now a shorter fighter. They're both aggressive, so the style's pretty much the same. Not too much, other than I know this is going to be a war. I'm not underestimating him one bit. So I'm ready to go out there and perform.
Fernando, thanks so much for coming on here. I appreciate it. I know you just got home. Go inside and get something to eat. We'll talk again later. Have a great rest of your training camp and have fun next week at the fight.
Right on, man. Thank you.